the depth situation going into the season? You know, I guess with Dylan, is he making that kind of a three-man thing? Is Selden making it a four-man thing? What's the? I'm not going to tell us the plan, but how do you feel about the depth?
And right now, I love the depth. You know, first time since I've been here that we've had multiple backs that we got a lot of trust in as an offensive staff. You know, you see obviously the Jay Rice and the Jabari, those guys have kind of been staples in the offense the last few years. But like you said, Dylan Sampson continued to grow, continued to show that he can be a playmaker in this offense. And I'm really impressed with the younger guys. The Cam Seldons of the world, the Khalifa Keys, like they've done a really good job of coming in here, you know, in the summertime or in the spring when Cam was here, just learning and getting adapted to what we're trying to do and what we're trying to fulfill offensively. So right now the depth is in an extremely good place.
Vince and Brent.
Can you share with us your working relationship and how in sync you are with Coach Halsley now taking over as OC in his time with you here at Tennessee?
Well, you know, me and Coach Halsey have always had a great relationship. Obviously, being back there as a quarterback and running back tandem, you always kind of got to be on the same page. I just think more so than ever, you know, right now with his, you know, increased role as a play caller, you know, just kind of leaning on me more to just make sure that those backs, because our backs are in good shape. Because sometimes, you know, he's got a lot more on his plate now just to kind of handle. So he'll come to me for recommendations of where I feel like the back should be or the back should be doing, not only from just a run game standpoint, but from a protection standpoint as well, because we have to make adjustments not only as the game goes along, but during the course of the week, as you watch more and more film, things continue to show itself and continue to appear, and just making sure that we're all on the same page is extremely important.
Jerry, how do you know when a freshman is ready? How do you know when a newcomer is ready to play?
I think it's the way he operates within our offense. You know, as you watch Cam, as you watch Khalifa continue to grow, there are some differences as far as, you know, how they go about handling their business, not only in the classroom, but also on the field right now. I think back to last year when you had Dylan Sampson, it was very apparent early when he got here that the way he processes information and the way he can communicate, he was going to be a guy that found himself in the rotation sooner rather than later. Probably about the 9th practice during fall camp last year, we kind of realized, okay, Dylan Sampson can really help us. For Cam Seldon, it was more, he made the jump, I really think, in the summertime. In the spring, it was like Star Wars for him. Everything was going all over the place. I think things continue to slow down as we go through the installs in the summertime. And then what you saw is in the fall, when we went fall camp, like now, the guy doesn't really make a whole lot of mental mistakes. It's going to be more about just the fundamental piece to it, pad level. You know, are the bright lights going to scare him off a little bit? But I do think the way he's been operating, his demeanor as a person, is probably going to allow him to really help us at some point in time this year.
Ben.
Jerry, how would you assess the pass pro aspect of your room throughout fall camp, and just how much of a benefit has it been for those older 3 guys that they have the experience under the belt doing it at this level?
Well, I think growth is really the key word, not only just from, you know, when we started this year, but over the last few years. The mentality has changed dramatically. Those guys all knew that, you know, a couple of years ago, that was kind of the focal point that we needed to improve on as a running back room. You know, we let the team down in some aspects of not making sure that we were where we were supposed to be and firm as we should be. They took it on themselves to make sure that physically they were doing what they're supposed to do, to make sure that when they stepped on the field over the last couple of years, they've been stout enough and strong enough to hold up in pass pro. And I really am impressed with the way they kind of attacked it. You know, Sam wasn't here with us that first year, but he kind of understood and learned really fast that, you know, you're going to have to be, you know, you're able to learn how to pass pro in college football. You know, he had that mistake against LSU last year and really never made another mistake after that from a pass protection standpoint. You know, was very intentional about coming over, making sure he knew where his eyes were going into every week. And I think now Jay Wright and Jabari, you know, that's one thing that they really take pride in. They take pride as a unit. We take pride as a unit into making sure that we know exactly what our responsibilities are every week, even if the quarterback made or the center made idea wrong, whatever's going on at that point in time. You know, we're able to come back and say, hey, we probably should have did X, Y, Z, coach, as opposed to that. And that's just taking pride in your craft.
Patrick, Brent, and Casey.
Jerry, you talked about Cam a little bit. Coach Eckler mentioned as a guy that helped you guys in the return game on kickoffs. What do you guys like about his ability back there to return kickoffs?
I think the biggest thing is Cam has first of all, he's got an innate ability to catch the football. And you see he played a lot of receiver in high school, so that carries over, obviously, as a kickoff return. If you wanted to return punts, he probably could do that as well. The second thing is, you know, we use the term running through the smoke. Big guy that's 6 foot, 6'1", whatever he is, 220 pounds right now, and he's not really afraid of any contact. He will run through those small creases, especially on kickoff return when you got those guys on kickoff team coming at you full speed. Cam has that ability to run through the smoke. He understands his strength, and he's a big, strong guy that can do that.
Jerry, you guys have said you'll ride the hot hand in terms of rotations and all that. How do you make sure that guys don't try to do too much to ensure that they stay in and are the guy with the hot hand? Does that concern you at all?
At times, we had a conversation today out there on the practice field. Jabari got caught in a situation where he probably could have did a little bit extra to try to gain more yards. And, just kind of making sure they understand, hey, stay calm. Like, it's going to come. You don't have to force the big run. The big runs are going to come. Our offensive line is really growing a whole lot over the last couple of weeks. And, they're going to create holes. They're going to create gashes within defenses that allow us to run through the holes. So we don't have to be extra trying to do a little bit too much sometimes. I do think, when you got competition, guys on your back as well, if you do try to get a little bit out of the framework of who you are, what you are, right now there's another guy sitting behind you ready to come in and probably take that opportunity.
Casey, then Rob.
Sorry about my voice. What's the message when you send the running back room out for the first game of the year?
Just be yourself. Like we just got to talking about, don't try to do anything outside the framework of who you are and what you are. Fundamentally, just being sound, making sure you operate within the course of our offense. Get your eyes back to the sideline. We play fast. We signal fast. We're bouncing up, getting the ball back to the officials. Just play fundamentally sound football. We don't have to do a whole lot of extra things. If we do all the small things right, everything else will take care of itself.
Coach, I'm sure every position group has a different challenge when you're talking about the tempo of this offense. What's like the unique challenge to get a freshman ready to operate at the best you guys?
I think a freshman running back, no matter what offense, to be honest with you, that I've been involved in, it's always going to be about protections. Just something that those guys don't do a lot in high school, not only from a standpoint of who you have or what your responsibility is, but also just from the standpoint of technique. That's just not something that they're doing a ton of. So just getting them incorporated to that, what that feels like, what that looks like, and then always anticipating potential pressure. We talk a lot about potential pressure on third down situations, but some teams are high first and second down pressure teams. So you just got to be ready no matter what. When it's a pass play, if you're not getting out and you're protecting, that's your contribution to that pass play being effective.
Last question, Vince.
What have you guys seen or talked about with Virginia's front or even their defense overall?
Really impressed with how hard those guys play. One thing about University of Virginia, what you can tell is they were in a lot of games last year. You see the record and people just assume that they were not a very good football team, but there were spots and there were times where they showed flashes, especially in their front defenses. A lot of movement up front, a lot of stemming. They got really good defensive ends that do a good job pressing the pocket. So that's going to be really important for us to make sure that before we get out, we make sure there's no extra trash hanging around the quarterback's feet or hanging around the quarterback for his vision. We're going to do a great job of blowing things up, as we use the term, before we get out and actually get our pass route. At the second level, at the linebacker position, man, those guys move around, they fly around. We're going to see some different bodies probably than we saw on film in some certain spots, but I think the athletic ability is still there.